Snake, what's that face paint you're wearing?
Kabuki.
Kabuki?
Right. It's used in traditional Japanese theater. Apparently, it gives whoever's wearing it some kind of mystical power.
Get out of here.
That's what I heard.
From who?
Paramedic.
Figures. Well, whatever it doesn't make for very good camouflage.
Really?
Yeah. You should switch to another kind of paint.
I was just starting to like it.
Ah, you're wearing the chocolate chip pattern.
Chocolate chip? You mean this camouflage?
Yeah.
I've never heard of a camo pattern called that before.
Yeah, I know. I just thought it up right now. The chocolate chip pattern is probably designed to provide cover in a desert environment. It should work best against a sandy or rocky background.
Makes sense, but why'd you call it chocolate chip?
'Cause that's what it reminds me of.
What?
Those little round cookies the Major's always snacking on?
They're not cookies, they're scones.
Major!
And it's not a snack, it's afternoon tea.
Snack, tea, same thing?
No, it's not. Look here, afternoon tea is a fine old English tradition.
Uh-oh, here we go again. Talk to you later, Snake.
The origins of afternoon tea go back to the Victorian era. Anna Maria, the 7th Duchess of Bedford, was...
That's some bizarre camo you got on, Snake.
It's spirit camo. I think it was a gift from the Sorrow.
The Sorrow? But he's been... Man, I don't even want to know. Anyway, that camouflage seems to have some kind of special power. When you're wearing it and grab an enemy using CQC, you can drain stamina out of the enemy while choking it, and you won't make a sound when you move around.
Sounds good.
Tell me the truth, did you really get that from the Sorrow?
Yeah.
Hell, the Major says he's been abducted by a UFO, so why not?
What?
The Cynthia that Eva mentioned was a famous lady spy who worked for Britain during the Second World War. Her real name was Amy Elizabeth Thorpe. She was a lovely, intelligent woman, and she used those charms as a weapon to extract numerous secrets from the enemy. They say her most brilliant achievement was getting the French Vichy government's naval ciphers. But don't let yourself be taken in by Eva's charms.
I'll be careful.
I'll be your eyes. Makes me want to cry.
Why's that?
Reminds me of something a certain spy once said. His name was Oleg Penkovsky, a Western spy who worked inside GRU. He was arrested by the KGB and executed last year. They say he sent a letter to the DCI at the time saying, "I must remain on this front line in order to be your eyes and ears." His code name was Hero.
A hero whose name will never be known.
Yes. That's the world we live in.
Eva, didn't you take a picture of me when I was about to leave the waterfall cave?
Oh, that's a button-shaped hidden camera developed by the KGB. I use it to take pictures of the fortress and the Shagohod.
That's not what I wanted to know. Why did you take a picture of me?
Because I wanted a picture of you. If I told you why, would you believe me anyway? Snake, they know you disguised yourself as Rykov to get in last time. And besides, you lost the hat, so I don't think the disguise is going to work anymore.
Snake, what do you have in your hand?
A fork. Why?
A fork? What'd you do with your knife? It ain't dinner time yet.
Sigint, you have to think bigger than that. A fork's good for more than just eating dinner.
Oh yeah? Like what?
It's a weapon.
A weapon?
Yeah, I can use it with the weapon button the same way I use the survival knife. This mission is all about procuring on site. I have to use whatever limited equipment I can find, any way I can to achieve my objective. So I have to make the most out of every item by adapting them to different situations. Take this fork, for instance. At first glance, it looks useless, but it can be an effective weapon if used the right way. You have to learn to think flexibly and see all the different possibilities.
Think flexibly, huh? Thanks for the advice, man.
No problem. And the best part is, if I use this to spear a snack, I can eat it right there without having to put it in my backpack first.
I knew it. You are using it to eat. You say you're using a single-action army. The single-action army was first manufactured in 1873. It's been in production ever since then, except for a short hiatus. People started calling it the single-action army after the army adopted it as their official sidearm in 1875. It's also sometimes called the peacemaker, owing to the fact that a lot of sheriffs used it to keep law and order in the Old West. There are a lot of different models. The one you've got is probably the black powder model. The only thing is, it takes a while to reload. This is a gun with history. You can do all sorts of tricks with it. Why don't you practice with it for a while? Go into first-person view and use the right analog stick. I see you're equipped with a Scorpion. The Scorpion is a new type of small submachine gun made in Czechoslovakia.
I've heard of it, but...
But you never used one, right? Well, they only started making it 3 years ago, after all. There are a bunch of different models of Scorpion. What kind of rounds does that one take?
32 ACP.
Then it's gotta be the VZ-61. The Scorpion is different from a lot of other submachine guns in that it operates on a closed bolt system. So you get a high degree of precision even when firing in semi-auto mode. Another special feature on the Scorpion is the rate reducer, a mechanism that also functions as a shock absorber. What it does is lock the bolt in place for a split second when it's in the rearward position. That keeps the firing rate down to a reasonable level, and also helps make the gun easier to control when firing in full auto mode. The Scorpion's firing rate is 750 rounds per minute. It ought to be a heck of a lot easier to control than the Mach 11, which has a rate of 1,200 rounds per minute. You should be able to handle it with one hand no problem in semi-auto mode. In full auto mode, you could probably manage short bursts. And it looks like that one's fitted with a laser sight, too. The Soviets probably developed this one on their own. You can't use the aim button to aim from the shoulder, but with the laser sight accuracy, it shouldn't be that big of a problem. I see you got yourself an M63. The M63 is an American-made system weapon.
Yeah, I've heard of it before, but...
But you never got your hands on one. Doesn't surprise me. It's brand new. They only developed it last year. I'm thinking they probably captured some in Southeast Asia and sent them back for research. The term system weapon refers to a design where most of the parts are interchangeable, allowing you to create a lot of different variations from a single original model. Using a set of basic components as the core, you can mix and match parts to create any number of different weapons. It's like a convertible rifle. By switching barrels and magazines around, you can make everything from an assault rifle and a carbine to a light machine gun and even a belt-feeding medium machine gun. Not only does this save the trouble of having to organize a bunch of different weapons on different lines, but it also has the added benefit of cutting down on the amount of training needed for each soldier. Most of the parts are made by presswork and lost wax casting, so they can be manufactured in countries that lack a developed technological base.
Nice touch.
The variation you've got there is the belt-fed light machine gun. It was originally designed for use in squad support missions.
It's a lot lighter than the M60.
Yeah, you won't find a lighter weight light machine gun than that. It ought to be pretty easy to handle in the jungle. Make good use of it. You're using a Mosin Nagant?
Yeah, it's what the End was using.
I see. The M1891-30 Mosin Nagant is a real beauty of a bolt-action sniper rifle. It's been in use since World War II. Mosin Nagants are created by selecting the best-made weapons out of the regular M1891-30 rifle production line for their high precision, and upgrading them to sniper rifles. They add an optical sight, make the trigger pull lighter, bend the charging handle underneath, that kind of stuff. The Mosin Nagant has been known far and wide since the war for its superior capabilities. They were so highly valued that a lot of German snipers on the Eastern Front preferred to use captured Mosin Nagants instead of their own rifles. It looks like the End took the one he'd been using since the war and modified it to fire tranquilizer rounds.
Yeah, it's also been fitted with a folding stock and a pistol grip.
Maybe for parachute jumps? Well, I don't know why he did it, but that's the tool of a legendary sniper. It's gotta be a fine piece of work. But remember, the Mosin Nagant is a bolt-action rifle, so you'll have to load a new tranquilizer round into the chamber by hand every time you fire. That means no repeat firing. One shot, one kill. When you equip a sniper rifle, you'll go straight into first-person view. Once you're in position, press the aim button to look through the scope. The trigger is the weapon button as usual. You can change the magnification on the scope by pressing the action button. You can fire from a standing position, but your aim will be a heck of a lot steadier if you're lying down. Try it out. You're using an RPG-7, huh? The RPG-7 is a state-of-the-art, portable anti-tank weapon developed as the successor to the RPG-2. It first saw active deployment in 1962, year before last. Actually, maybe portable is not the right word. The launcher and the grenade together weigh over 20 pounds. It's not something you can use on the move. When you equip it, make sure you use first-person view to aim.
Got it.
You can fire it as soon as you're in position, but if you use the aim button to look through the scope, you should be able to get a pretty accurate shot. Then just use the weapon button to pull the trigger, and the propellant will shoot the grenade out of the launcher. Immediately after that, stabilizer fins will deploy from the back of the grenade. After it travels about 35 feet, the rocket fuel inside the grenade will ignite, accelerating the grenade towards its target. Even if it doesn't hit the target, the safety mechanism will kick in and cause it to self-destruct when it exceeds the target range or after a few seconds of flight. The warhead is made of the plastic explosive heat. It's capable of penetrating up to 13 inches of armor. That should be enough to shoot down a heavily armored attack chopper. Oh, one more thing. The rocket fires when the grenade first starts its descent, so don't try to fire it real close to the ground.
So you can't use it from a lying position.
Right. Don't forget that.
I won't.
Snake, have you seen The Magnificent Seven?
Sorry.
It's a remake of the Japanese classic The Seven Samurai, only in a Western setting. This tiny Mexican village is attacked every year by bandits. Finally, the village elder can't stand it any longer and decides to hire someone to protect the village. 7 gunmen respond to the call. They teach the villagers how to shoot and prepare for the oncoming attack. But then, the enemy shows up at the village with a huge band.
Then what happens?
You'll just have to see it for yourself. I don't want to spoil it.
Oh.
Movies are only fun when you actually watch them. There's something you have to experience for yourself. Hey, Snake, have you ever seen My Mother Was a Teenage Spider Queen from Mars?
I can't say that I have.
Neither have I.